Hello, my wonderful YouTube viewers. How is everybody? It's a disgusting Monday morning, and I'm off to take Pinky to Barnstormers because her service light has finally come on, and she has a bunch of stuff that needs doing. Not only is she now due her service, which I thought I was going to get done a little while ago, but apparently I actually have to wait for the service light to come on before she can have the service. She's got her first MOT because she's almost 3 years old now, and got various problems that need fixing, especially if I want to do anything else with her. So yeah, she's off to her besties at the BMW dealership for however long it's going to take. So what I'm actually filming today is my Iceland cost breakdown, which I was supposed to do when I got back, but I didn't. Been very busy. Kind of got home less than 2 months ago now and was flung into various other activities, and I've just kind of forgotten to do it. So I'm going to quickly run through how much money I spent on my Iceland trip back in May on Pinky, the S1000RR. So we were over there for 8 days, but the actual trip took 21 days. It took 3 weeks because it takes a while to get to Iceland. Not only do you have to get to the top of Denmark, but you have a 3-day boat each way to get to Iceland. So it's a 3-week trip with 8 days on Iceland, and I was travelling on my own. But I do make it sound like I wasn't travelling on my own because I talk about we, us. And what I mean by we and us is me and the bike. It's not me and another person. So overall I spent £2,200, which in my head doesn't seem like enough because I've come home from Iceland, I've got no bloody money, and I swear I had more than that, but when I looked at my bank statement and I added it all up together, it said 2,200, so that's how much it cost. The most expensive part of the trip to Iceland was actually, and this surprised me, and I'm kind of disgusted with myself, but I know why it happened. The most expensive part of that trip was my food. I spent £600 feeding myself on this trip. And I'll tell you what went wrong. Because fuel, you just put it in. Oh, I was going to go down then. It's a shame. Yeah, fuel, you put it in, and there's not really much you can do about it. It's going to cost what it's going to cost. Accommodation was all in pounds, so I knew how much I was spending. I knew what a pound looked like and what it meant. Food was in Icelandic krona. Apart from the food that I bought on the boat and on the way to the boat, but on Iceland it's all in Icelandic krona, and Icelandic krona is different from euros, it's different from pounds, it's different from Norwegian krona, it's different from Danish krona. It's its own entity, and it's really, really confusing. Basically 1,000 Icelandic kronas is something like £6, I think I remember that correctly. And immediately that's annoying. That's an annoying calculation to try and do in your head. Having to do any kind of maths with the number 6 is immediately difficult, so then I would round down to 5, which is inaccurate, and basically I made an absolute hash of it, and I don't know what I was buying. I don't know how much money I was spending while I was over there until I got back and I looked at it, and it's like, oh, I spent 20 quid on a sandwich. Yeah, that happened. And they don't lie. People don't lie when they say Iceland is expensive. It is expensive. It costs £20 to feel an emotion on that island. And if the emotion is hunger, yeah, not good. The food was very, very excellent though. I was eating fish soup a lot because I love fish soup, and you don't get it very often anywhere else. But on Iceland, everywhere has fish soup, so yeah, meals were anything from £20 to £30. Normally that would include a drink, which is nice, but even like a light meal is expensive. So breakfast you're paying £15-20, lunch you're paying £20, dinner you're paying, I mean, the sky's the limit with dinner foods. And while I was over there, I wasn't really limiting myself. I wasn't trying to be frugal. If I saw something on the menu that I wanted, I would just order it and worry about the consequences later. And as a result of that, food was the most expensive part of the trip. Spending £600 over the 3-week trip. That includes feeding myself on the boat, which I will get to, and also feeding myself on the little motorway, getting to the boat through France, Germany, Denmark, etc. The second most expensive part of my trip was accommodation, and this is entirely my fault. It's my fault that this trip cost so much money because I took my tent, I took all of my camping equipment, I took everything, and I didn't use it because I was simply too lazy. It was cold, I didn't want to unpack anything. I really love just turning up at a place that I booked 2 hours prior and being presented with a key and a made bed and a kettle with a selection box of tea bags. I love that. And I was only on the island for 8 days. I decided I couldn't be bothered. I used Airbnbs. And actually you can be quite savvy on Iceland with Airbnbs. If you go in May when it's the off season, it's not very busy. Nowhere's fully booked. You've got quite a good range. And so I spent £25 to £90 per night on accommodation. The £25 night was a little youth hostel. I got a bed in a room. I got Wi-Fi, I got access to a kitchen. It was amazing. And because it was off season, because it was early, the room was empty, so I got the room to myself, which was fantastic. And the place that I spent £90 on was a bunkhouse, so I got a little room to myself. I got use of a kitchen. It was more expensive, I think, because it was in a cute little village. And the reason I picked that one, despite it costing £90, is because I saw photographs of it and I just absolutely adored the way that the place looked, the vibes of the place. I knew I could sit in this big communal room, this big kind of like kitchen area in the window and watch the world go by, which I really enjoy doing. So I was happy to pay £90 for that one. I was also very happy to pay £25 for the other one. And then there were kind of in between places. There was one Airbnb where it was very typical Airbnb, stay in somebody's house, and that was £50, I think. That was £70 for the night, and I loved it. This lady made me breakfast. It was wonderful. So yeah, you can spend as much or as little as you want, it seems, which is surprising for Iceland because it's typically such an expensive place to be. But actually, no, you can spend little or lots over there, which was nice. Third most expensive thing was fuel. Not much you could do about that. We did 3,000 miles, of which 2,000 miles was just getting to the boats, which is a shame. Fuel is fairly expensive over there. It's not a whole lot worse than England was back when we had that fuel crisis, so it's like, even though it sucks that you have to pay for it, you just do. So there's no point complaining about that. So yeah, that was probably another £500 on petrol for 3,000 miles. The next most expensive thing was the boat, which was £330 for the boat. So that's the big boat from the top of Denmark to the east coast of Iceland via the Faroe Islands. And I've definitely talked about this already. If you scroll down through my older videos, you'll see my booking process. You'll see why I made the decisions that I made. Look at that dog. So that's how much that ticket was. That was the basicest ticket that I could get to get me and my bike to Iceland. What actually was expensive about the boat was feeding myself. So this does factor into the £600 that I spent feeding myself. You're on a boat, you're stuck there. There's nothing you can do about the fact that it's expensive. And so every single thing on that boat was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it was insultingly expensive. It was £20 for a breakfast buffet, £20 for lunch buffet, £20 for dinner buffet. So if you want to have a three meal day, like you would kind of expect to have a 3-meal day, not including drinks, you're spending 60 quid already on cafeteria food, which was all right. It wasn't great, it was all right. There was smoked salmon, but it didn't taste of anything. It was like a water that had the texture of smoked salmon. Yeah, it was okay. And there are no other options. You can get yourself like a pizza or something and a drink, and that will cost you £20, and then you've got a pizza instead of a buffet, but it's 20 quid. So a lot of my food budget, although Iceland was very expensive, at least I have the option to choose not to eat if I don't want to, and just go to a petrol station and buy a snack. Whereas on the boat, it's like you're bored, you've got nothing to do all day, so you get bored and then you eat because the meals are up and you can smell it, and you're like, well, I might as well have a meal, and then all of a sudden all of your money is gone. So the boat, although the boat ticket was cheap, being on the boat nearly broke me. It's so expensive. And you have to pay for Wi-Fi as well. Boat Wi-Fi, I think I paid 40 quid each way for boat Wi-Fi. And you're not going to pay that, are you? You absolutely need Wi-Fi on the boat, otherwise you just, I'd jump off. So yeah, that was that. And then obviously other weird little travel expenses, the boat to and from France, which is the first and last boat that I needed to take, that came to about £80 both ways. Tolls going through France aren't too expensive for motorcycles, and I only needed to do the top bit of France, so I think that was about £20. And then I paid odd amounts for parking in various places around Iceland. If there was like a little tourist spot that was very pretty and I wanted to go there, so I think probably about £70 or £80 total for tolls and car parking. And then souvenirs, I spent way too much money on that. I spent like £100 on magnets again. Every time I go anywhere I buy magnets, and similarly I don't understand the currency. I bought a £15 magnet. It was £15 for a magnet. It wasn't even that good, and it wasn't even for me, and I didn't realise it, and I was taking the piss out of something else for being £15, and then I bought a bloody magnet. Yeah, Iceland will get you with its confusing currency, and you think it can't possibly be that expensive. No, it is. Look at the prices of things. I'm still mad about that. And so in amongst all of that, somehow £2,200 was spent on 3 weeks of travel, 3,000 miles on an S1000R. The bike itself didn't cost me any money apart from petrol. I did stop at the BMW dealership on Iceland just to give it like a little once over, basically just to look at the chain, but because the chain was pretty much brand new when it went on, it didn't need anything doing. They cleaned it as like a nice friendly thing that they did. They didn't charge me for that. They were very, very lovely. So for once, Pink Heat was cheap. Although you're about not to be cheap, I think. This is going to be a bloody nightmare. Where's someone's glove? This is going to be expensive. There is a lot wrong with this bike now. So there you have it. That is my price breakdown. It's not very inspiring. I think if I had to do it again, I probably just wouldn't take the tent. The thing is, I could have saved money by camping, but it would have cost me money in other places because it was quite cold. Obviously it's Iceland, it's not the season yet, it's freezing. If I was going to camp, realistically I would have ended up having to buy a better sleeping bag or more blankets, and I would have had to carry that around with me as well. And the money that I would save by using my tent would be spent on better equipment. So ultimately it wouldn't have made a difference in the short term. Maybe long term it would have, and I am looking into that for the next trip, but on this occasion, no. I made good choices. I could have saved money on food, but apart from on the boat, I enjoyed what I ate. So I'm happy with the decisions that I made, even though they were expensive. Like, what can you do? You have to go to Iceland. It's absolutely incredible. They know they're incredible, and it's absolutely 100% worth it. I had an amazing time. Obviously, you can watch all my daily videos. I'll do probably another kind of breakdown later. It might be a written piece rather than a video, but I'll get to it. Right now, I'm just kind of obsessing over what I'm going to do next once Pinky comes back from her spa retreat. It's going to wipe out the rest of my funds. So I will let you know my thoughts and what's happening at some point. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that the weather gets better and we can actually have summer. That would be good. I hope that maybe this has inspired some of you or provided you with useful information. And I am at Barnstable, so I will see you later. Goodbye.